named the GID and UID of the namespace user. Okay, so the namespace user, so in here, we are 1000, 1000. Oh, but this is the namespace user. Because this is what we saw in the, yeah, okay, hold on. Let's quit out of here. If we look at CB back to Etsy, if we ls, it was like something GUID. It was redirect or something like that. Oh yeah, let's take a look at that. Docker images. I only see Ubuntu. I had previously had access to the Hello World one, which I believe if we come over here, we go to images. Is that not where like images are stored? I thought maybe it was. Okay, I don't know where, I don't know where it stores those. So yeah, I can't see that. That's good to go. Although it does mean I can never delete that one now, I don't think. Unless, what if I run this as root? So sudo docker images. No, that doesn't work either. We're thinking exactly, we're on the same alignment thinking there. I thought of that like right when you were writing that out. Okay, what happens if I sudo to su? Wait a second. No, I'm being silly. I am literally logged in as root. That's why, okay, hold on. I need to be doing it as this. Okay, I can't do that. Sudo docker images. Never mind. I'm silly. I got excited all for nothing. Okay. That being said, even as root, I didn't have access to the previous image, which means it's still there and it's just gone forever and I can't do anything about it. This seems to be the one we were talking about. If we go back to, okay, that's why my previous history wasn't working. If I wanted to do a ls, I think it was like ll. What was it? It was not sudoers. It was something like redirect, like red or something GUID. That's what it's sub. Okay. So if I cat sub GID, okay, it's still the same thing. Now, what's interesting is that this number here, the 100,000, is the same as this number right here. That's an interesting coincidence that you all ran with root was looking perfectly fine. Of course, yeah. But I think running with root is still running as the user. I think, but I'm having trouble like verifying that. Now there is this directory here. So if I cd into that, what do we have in here? Ooh, look at this. It's a complete copy of you inside of here. That's good to know. And it's some of it like owned by me and some of it owned by, and it's not, this is not me because this user isn't represented or group isn't represented in the system at all. So it's a completely nonsensical user ID, which is fine. We like that. That's good. The directories which are owned by the remapped user are used instead of the same directories directly beneath varlib docker. And the unused versions, such as varlib docker temp in the example here, can be removed. Docker does not use them while user namespace renap is enabled. Excellent. Cyberfinks, hello. How are you doing today? Okay, I don't want to remap that ever. Okay, known limitations of this. Maybe we do. Sharing PID or net namespaces with the host. Okay, I've never wanted to do that. External volume or storage drivers which are unaware or incapable of using daemons user mappings, which should be fine for whatever I want to use it for. Using a privileged mode flag on Docker run without also specifying users, okay, host, okay. User namespaces are an advanced feature and require coordination with other capabilities. For example, if volumes are mounted from the host, file ownership must be prearranged, need read or write access to the volume contents. While the root user inside a user namespace container process has many of the expected privileges of the superuser within the container, the Linux kernel imposes restrictions based on internal knowledge that this is a user namespace process. One notable restriction is the inability to use the mknod command, make node. Permission is denied for device creation within a container when run by the root user. Okay, so what can we do to validate this? Okay. What are things that I don't have access to? So here I am logged in as Secure Docker. If I run Docker and I try to, okay, here I'm logged in as root here. Let's try some shenanigans. Let's go to var temp, and I want to, let's say, make directory testing Docker, and I'm going to let's just echo put that onto hello.txt. Okay. Okay, so the directory is owned by root, and this file is owned by root. It is, let's also, okay, so it's read write by root and only read only by the group root, and also everybody else can read it, but that's it. Nobody else can change this. Now, Docker runs as root, but I've now set it to be Secure Docker that's running this. So if I now try, if I come to var tmp, if I want to do a sudo docker run, let's do an it. Let's see, what do I want to do for this? It, we can remove it afterwards. Let's volume. I want to volume. Oh, I guess I should cd into it. Testing Docker. Okay. So we jump inside of a Docker container. We go to /data, and we see this here. No group, no group. So it doesn't know who this is. I can cat hello text. That makes sense because anybody can read it out of here. But let's say I want to... is nano not found? Okay, let's say I want to just overwrite this. I want to echo hi from Docker to hello.txt. Permission denied. That's what we want to see. I should verify that that would have worked regardless. But I'm pretty sure it would have, but we should test that. Okay, so to fix this and bring us back to where we were before, let's go to Etsy. Where was it that JSON? No, it wasn't varlib docker. Etsy docker daemon.json. Okay, this is what we want to. So if we completely remove this, restart you, and then let's reboot again. Okay, still rebooting. There we go. Okay, so if we go back to var temp, okay, you still exist. I want to do our docker command here as root. So we're going to do a docker run. No, I don't want to do this as root. I want to do this as the other user, which should have root capabilities. Okay, so we're going to do, first of all, sudo docker sudo docker images. I see the hello world again. Okay, so we're back to being root as Docker. So this is one way for us to verify that it's working, or at least it's a sign that it's working the way we expect it to. Also, I would guess that this image is different. This is the image that we initially installed, and then we had that other image that was exactly the same as this one installed under the different namespace. Does that namespace still exist? It would probably do it. Yeah. The reason why I'm testing with Docker with actually rebooting the system, because I want to be, I'll probably just like put that into the instructions of like either reboot the entire server or just go ahead and reboot the system. And I know that some people will just do that, and I wanted to make sure that it works the way we expect it to, which does. We'll try that one also. Anony, hello. How are you doing today? So is far Docker, isn't far Docker? For live Docker. Now this namespace still exists. So it doesn't delete the namespace. So that's nice. I can still get back to it and all my work or whatever is still there. So that's good. Now let's head back to var tmp. We're going to go into testing Docker, and we're going to do a Docker run. So sudo Docker run it rmf. Okay, so I want to do this. It drops me in here. We go to /data. And now I want to overwrite this. I want to echo hello from Docker to hello.txt, and it allows me to do it. That is the key. And now we come back to over here. Var tmp. And we're just going to cat hello.txt, and it's hello from root, hello from Docker, which is running as root, which allows us to update root files. So here's what we've learned. Whatever user we remap the Docker daemon, the Docker containers to, if it breaks out, it won't have access. It is owned by these group and user IDs, which are really weird. They don't exist on the root system, so they'll just not be able to do anything at all. Even better, if we accidentally mount up a directory and try to do something to it, we can only do things that our user is allowed to do, which is huge. That's exactly what we want. Okay. So we're going to, time for us to turn this into our article, which and like rewrite it into like a better thing. So basically doing these all together at the same time is going to be the best thing we can do, where we have a profile that allows you to do only certain commands on the host system. Also runs that root user isn't even root, it's just your own user. Altogether, really good things. Okay, so map the container root user to a host non-user. Can I please tell you what's the difference between a web developer and a full stack developer, or are they both the same? It unfortunately there's no official terminology guide, or there's no standardization for these terms. So bear my definitions with a grain of salt, because like a company that you work for might consider it different. In my opinion, a web developer and a full stack developer are pretty much the same. As in, a web developer is somebody who needs to be able to do anything related to web development. That means both being able to work with the server serving APIs to the web, and also the thing that runs, like the app that runs on the website itself. That's the reason why usually if you only do like one half of that, you might say back-end web developer or front-end web developer. And I believe that, I guess to like go a little bit further than the question, I believe that it's way more important to have full web development skills. So like the ability to work on a back end, even if you're not the best at it, it's better to like be able to do that than have to tell somebody, oh no, I can't do that. I can only work on X. Because someday somebody's going to come along and say, oh no, I can do both. And guess who is going to get a job? Guess who is going to keep their job longer, or get promoted or whatever? It's going to be the person who can provide more value to the company for the same or similar amount of money. And if a company can hire somebody who can do both for, even if it's like, as long as it's not like double the amount of money, then they're making like that's saving the company money. So to me, that's my definition, and also a reason why to try to go for like the full stack thing. Does that help, Anony? What is it called? Is it remap, or is it, oh, to isolate? Okay, so I wanted to do where, I guess we'll just remove this. Actually, we could just create a new one, right? So we're gonna make dir. Okay, actually you're confused. Should I learn and focus on becoming a web developer, or should I first become a full stack developer? Like, what companies prefer? So it's going to depend upon the area that you're at. Startups almost always prefer full stack developers. And that's because startups don't have that much money compared to the big companies. So they want to make sure their dollars, their money goes to the best bang for the buck. And that usually means hiring less developers overall. And so if they can hire a single developer to build their entire web application, which includes the server that serves up the APIs, then they're going to go with that. So if if you want to become hired by a startup, full stack developer. Now, if you want to be hired by a larger company, then it gets a little bit interesting, because the answer is, again, it depends upon what teams and what that company specifically does or needs. Like, I know one large company that they separate their backend and their front ends for web development into completely separate teams that never talk to each other at all, which I have my own thoughts on about, like, what that means, or how good that is. We don't have to go into that now. Basically, in that case, then learning front end or back end is going to be fine. And what you want to do is you want to look at what their job offerings are and then learn that. Because if they're not hiring for back end, but they're only hiring for front end, then you're not going to get a job if you've learned the opposite. So you're going to have to do a little bit of research to find out what companies you're interested in, and then what companies, like what those specific companies, what their needs are. If their needs are front end, then you learn front end. If their needs are back end, you learn back end. And if their needs are sort of like swapping back and forth, then learning full stack is going to help you match that, right? Because if you are a full stack developer, as in you have the capabilities of both the front end and the back end, but the job that you're going for is only front end, then change your title on your resume to match what they have, and then go for that. So yeah, they only want a front end. Sure, you have full stack capabilities. That doesn't mean you can't work in a front end position. You'll be perfectly fine there. So again, like, sort of not super, I can't really answer directly for you because there's so many different things that change how to answer that. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to do a little bit of research to figure out what is right for your specific situation. And somebody in your area can help you a lot more than I can, because even like over here, I don't even know where you are, but like in the United States, for example, a job in Denver, Colorado, the companies are looking for very different things than from Silicon Valley in California. That's, and my answer will depend upon where you are, what level you are, what the economy is in that specific area, what's going on. It's very interesting. What size company you're going for, everything changes, which unfortunately doesn't make it easy. Recruiters can help though. If you find a recruiter that's good, they can help you figure out what to learn. What skills differentiate a software architect from a software developer? Is software architect more high level than a software developer? What does a cloud architect do? Yes, architects are way higher level. And by higher level, I mean they're elevated beyond just doing normal development. Most software architects should do some development to keep their hands in the project, but for the most part, they're going to be doing more, I want to say architecture stuff, but that's sort of like self-reference definitions, which kind of sucks. Basically, their job is to make sure that the shape and the flow of the entire application is cohesive and it works. And this is usually not just like a software architect for front end only, it's usually across all the systems. So if you have a microservices architecture, for example, then the architect will be in charge of making sure that they all can communicate, they all can work together. And what their job should be is elevating everybody who's working on those tools to understand how the architecture works, why the architecture decisions were made, and to help make architecture decisions when they need to be made. A cloud architect is basically the same thing, but now we're talking about in the cloud. So AWS would be setting up all the AWS services, making sure they communicate with each other, making sure that everybody has the correct access and can do what they need to do, and that it's a good, secure architecture to use. Does that help, Cyper? Are software architects more like project managers? I know, but the reason why I have to have a question mark on the end of that is because it's kind of ironic. Project managers, I don't really agree with the idea of them. I don't think that most companies need a project manager. Product managers, absolutely, yes, but project managers, not necessarily. I think it's more, it's way more of a leadership position. Yes, an architect is making decisions about the application, about the flow and all that stuff. They're not necessarily making decisions about, oh, hey, your code looks like, actually works or does that kind of stuff. But it's more high level, as in the 10,000 foot view of the entire application. But it's also a leadership position because they should be working with every team member to make sure that they understand and learn those architectural skills so that they can actually be productive inside of the application. Because I've seen this a lot before. Many companies, architects end up hoarding the architecture decisions to themselves, and that's not good, because now if that architect isn't available, the entire system grinds to a halt, and you're not going to make any forward movement in the company anymore, which it sucks. Does that help? Now, I've been reminded that I should caveat every time I talk about what any of these things should be, especially with architecture type stuff, that most companies don't do that. That's what, in my mind, an architect should be. Your mileage will vary based upon what company you're at and how good your company is at utilizing engineering throughout the entire organization, or keeping good people in good positions. If your architect is not a good person, or if they're one of those people who is likes power, then your architect is not going to be is going to be very different than what I just described, which sucks. It's something I used to have to describe to students all the time. It's okay, here's all these things about agile, and here's how to do all this, here's how all this works. And it's okay, by the way, most likely none of this is going to be at any of the companies you work at. I'm really sorry. It's that's how it can be worked. This is how it's supposed to be. Nobody does it, or it's a rounding error to zero for the companies that do it. Okay, so I'm gonna do another one. So this is gonna be roots files. I'm gonna cd into roots files, and we're going to echo hello from root into hello.txt. And we'll just go ahead and verify that. And so okay, so before we map the container root to a host non-root user, and then that's here what we want to do here. So we're gonna cd to, let's just start there. Okay, so we're gonna cd to var temp roots files. We're gonna sudo docker run it. Okay, that. Then we're going to cd/data, all that. We're going to echo hello, no. .txt, it works. And then over here, we're going to exit out of view, and now we can cat hello.txt and then see that. Should we do default? Default will create a new user. I kind of feel like I want to use default for this. Let's use this, default. So okay, so it's either syscontrol or service, right? I'm used to the old service. Service Docker status. Okay, active. So I could do service Docker restart. Oh man, an ad is starting already? Oh, that's really fast. Okay, so that's good. Then we want to verify that things are working the way we want to. So, okay, we now should be able to do ID Docker doc remap. And it exists. It didn't before. Okay. Okay, so we have that. Now we want to check to see that those files with that these files got remapped. Yeah, Etsy sub UID and sub GID. It should be in there. So if I do a ls, let's see, cat Etsy Docker, no, Etsy sub UID. Yeah, sub UID. Sub UID. Yep, there that goes. Okay, so then cat Etsy sub G ID. Okay, so we can also check that Docker has updated the sub UID and sub GID files. Yeah, and this one 165. Yeah, it's a so weird that says a range from like up to down. That's weird. But okay, whatever. We can also check the Docker's updated to map the user to a range of possible user UIDs and GIDs. I mean, I could put a little asterisk next to impossible. Impossible as far, unless there's a 0 day in like the kernel or something like that. All right, ad break starting. So break time, but I'm going to keep on working through this. Oh, can I do both at the same time? So can I cat Etsy? Oh, okay. That sort of puts them together. That's not exactly what I want. Yeah, we got nothing. Lovely. The better Owen, hello. How are you doing today? You're doing pretty well, tinkering with some front end stuff, which is always a rarity for you. The stream is going pretty well. We've been working on some Docker security stuff, sort of like digging a bit deeper than we had gone before, mostly to be able to safely, or at least as safely as possible, give access to non-sudo for Docker. To basically like, okay, if we do all these things, then if you still want to use Docker without sudo, you're going to be significantly safer. And profiles and isolation, that's what we just did right now. This is a really cool demo. So I had previously, as root, created this file called hello.txt. And it's owned by root, and it's read write by root only, and then read only by everybody else. And if I cat hello.txt, we have hello from root, hello from Docker. Okay, well, the Docker we did previously, but now we've isolated Docker into its own namespace. And if we now do the same command we did previously, so this would be what? Sudo docker run it rm volume mount this, and we're in the same file directory. Okay, so we do that. It'll bring that in. You're Alexi, hello. How are you doing today? We're dropped into it. cd into /data. Here we go with that. We can cat hello text, that still works. But if I now try to do echo hello from namespace Docker to hello.txt, permission denied, even though I'm the root user. Oh, nice. That's some really cool stuff. I used to do some stuff with the Docker, including folk back in 2014, 2015, when Docker was the new hot list. And a side of things, still a bit of a blind spot to you. Yeah. So the, it's actually like Docker's gotten a lot more secure in recent years. They've really focused on that, which is really nice because I'm right there with you. I was using Docker, I think a couple years after you, like 2016, 2017, 2018, really heavily. And there was some stuff, but it was like I didn't really like, it was not really called out. I didn't really see anything about this. Nobody was talking about it. As far as I can tell, like very few people still talk about like this type of security level stuff that we can do with it. Most of the time we just say like, hey, be careful, which is kind of what I did. But now diving deep into is like, nope, we can do better. We can do better. But that's why we do this instead of just going straight into the course, right? Okay, so as we can see, even though we are the root user in the container, the user doesn't have permissions to write to the file. So permission is denied. So excellent. We are done with that. So that is a set the root. So let's rename this. Totally agree. We still use Docker pretty heavily with Kubernetes and have some good security policies there, but very little thought about security of Docker containers for local dev. Very much what you said, just be careful. Exactly. Which like doing this type of stuff is pretty awesome. I think maybe we can just like have a stream where I'll just like secure the heck out of Docker on, I wonder if I can do this on my Mac or if this is going to be Docker Engine on Linux only. We have to try because this is Docker Engine type stuff. Now Docker on Mac and Windows is different because it's Docker Engine running inside of a VM that they've set up for us behind the scenes. So it's not really like, that's also why it's slower. But this still is pretty cool. Okay. Install Docker as a non-root user.